The number of the beast, for it is a human number. Its number is 666. I left alone. My mind was blank. I needed time to think, to get the memories from my mind. What did I see? Can I believe that what I saw that night was real and not just fantasy? Just what I saw in my own dreams were the reflections of my Walkman staring back at me. 'Cause in my dreams, it's always there. The evil face that twists my mind and brings me to despair.
Let's begin. We got a lot to talk about. Let's do this. I was away on the weekend, so I couldn't view a whole lot of sports. I was down at Massport Park. I'll get to some stories about that, but I am Kyle Johnston. Find my work on Twitter at KJ_the_block. Find my work on my blog site, kylejohnstontheblock.wordpress.com. I'm going to get into a little bit Euro 2016 wrap-up. Even though I missed the game, kind of watched some extended highlights, been listening to a lot of pundits. You know, I've kind of got an idea. I can paint a picture of what happened. We're going to talk a little home run derby. It's one of the few things that we can handicap tonight. Talk a little Draymond Green, the Golden State Warriors. And UFC is still in the news. Now, I didn't get to catch the UFC card either. But I guess, well, not I guess, but we have a new women's bantamweight champion, Amanda Nunes. Brock Lesnar showed why he is the beast. Took care of Mark Hunt. Now, I haven't seen any of the highlights. I haven't seen anything of anything on the UFC. I've been trying to catch up with as many things as I can. I was watching Toronto FC game there. Been reading a lot about the UFC sale, more than the actual fights, because that's new news today. Aldo took care of Frankie Edgar. And it looks like Conor McGregor, Jose Aldo are on a collision course after Conor McGregor gets done with Nate Diaz. And yeah, before getting, we might as well just continue with the UFC stuff. I saw that Nate Diaz, I agree with you, Nate. You're sitting there advertising you as a welterweight. You're not a welterweight. Your brother's a welterweight. Nick Diaz is a welterweight. It's got to be some kind of typo there, eh? UFC, what, you slacking because you're getting ready for your big sale? You know, you're not quite catching everything, Dana? But, what? I think he's only fought 5 times at the welterweight class. Nate Diaz, I think he's fought in 22 times or something like that. 27 times as a welterweight, something like that. That's pretty fucking hilarious. But I don't know what happened to you, Miesha Tate. I'll have to watch the highlights. You submitted in the first round. I do know that. You were enjoying the lifestyle maybe a little bit too much. You never, we gotta understand too, she wasn't the best. Like, Ronda Rousey's better than her. Holly Holm's quite possibly better than Miesha Tate. Now, Holly Holm still has a lot to learn. She's got to put together a wrestling game and a jiu-jitsu game to go along with her striking. Now, you can say the opposite for Ronda Rousey. She's got to learn how to control her striking game, and her striking game definitely needs to improve. But Miesha Tate definitely wasn't the best girl at the bantamweight level, and we've seen that now. The belt's changing hands pretty rapidly right now. Waiting for that one girl to step up. Maybe Cyborg will step up. Already been reading that she might not want to fight Nunez. Yeah, she'll fight him. Everybody has a price. Everybody has a price. I look forward to McGregor-Aldo. If that does take place, I think it'll take place regardless, even if McGregor loses to Diaz. Won't quite have the shine if he loses to Diaz back-to-back. So, and McGregor's not stupid either. McGregor knows he's got to beat Diaz. He's got to beat Diaz. Saw an awesome photo there of one of the UFC photographers. I wish I could go back and credit it. Well, anyways, one of the UFC photographers caught a nice angle of the Aldo Edgar fight going on. You know, and they're about to engage. And they got Conor McGregor standing up in the crowd. About, 3 rows deep, 4 rows deep. And he's the only one really standing up in his area. Just nice little suit going on. Sunglasses, staring him down. Little spine chilling. You know, I think he's realized he fucked up, Conor McGregor. And he's gonna be bringing it. He's gonna be bringing it. And just like I heard Brock Lesnar bring it, and to watch those highlights. Now, I like Mark Hunt. Big Mark Hunt guy. Can't really say nothing about him. Brock Lesnar is just a big fucking dude. I don't know how the hell this guy even cuts weight down to 265 he's got to be? Like, holy fuck, man. This guy probably walks around. Well, you know, I bet he walks around at 285 or something like that. So he's got to shed about 20 pounds. But good on Brock. He had a couple of nice clips afterwards. I agree with him. I do think he's a top 10, especially in the heavyweight division. If not, maybe a little bit better. I think he'll help shake up the heavyweight division. DeSantos Lesnar will be pretty interesting. And everybody's got to remember, like, his last 2 fights, the ones he lost before he came back for this, he had his hole in his stomach, man. 12 inches of his colon was, like, taken out or whatever. 3 months later, he was back in the UFC. It's pretty fucking crazy. So here's a good card overall. I was back in Lesnar. That cashed. Oh yeah, and the Daniel Cormier. I was back in Daniel Cormier against Anderson Silva. Didn't really find out who he was fighting because I was in a campsite, right? And my phone can only last so long, and the more stuff I'm on, the quicker it fucking dies, right? So I didn't find out he was fighting Anderson Silva till Saturday. But I quickly jumped on Daniel Cormier. You know, I knew he'd be pissed off. I knew he'd want to put on a show. The guy deserves to get paid. Probably needs to get paid. You know, he keeps fucking around trying to fight John Bone Jones. What an idiot this guy is. What an idiot.
The big talk about Trump now and this week heading into the convention next week is who will he pick
Trump.
as his running mate. The New Jersey Governor Chris Christie will be there with them today. So a lot of talk now about the...
Try to find that for you. So I got a couple of business websites opened up here right now. I don't know where that... oh, here we go. Go Fox. Go Fox. Fox always talking about Donald Trump, aren't they, man? Right down to the very end. Right down to the very end, Fox will be talking about Trump. But I knew Cormier'd be pissed off. I knew he'd want to win. Silva's over the hill. Living off his last name. He likes to fuck around too much. And I didn't get to see the fight. I haven't seen it, but I can only expect. I am expecting, and I suppose that Daniel Cormier was a much, much bigger man inside that octagon than Anderson Silva was. So I didn't expect Anderson Silva really to have much of a shot. As much as I do like Anderson Silva, I respect him from back in the day. Don't respect him doing his little stupid shit like this and stuff like that. You know what I mean? That's why he got knocked down against Weidman. And the MMA gods came back and slapped him again and broke his shin in the rematch. So, you know what I mean? His time's come and gone, man. His time's come and gone. I do agree with a lot of pundits around. Some of them. Well, I'll take that back. I'll retract that statement. But I do think a lot of those fighters coming from Brazil, South America, at least some of them were juiced up as well. I wouldn't be shocked if Anderson Silva had dabbled in it. Only alleging. I don't know. But then again, you know, the rules really weren't there, right? And stuff like that. It wasn't really watched as much as it is now. Ask John Bone Jones. You know? These fighters, you know, the UFC, man. It's a dark world getting up into the UFC, fighting your way up to the UFC, man. You're not fighting for a whole lot. It's not really spectacular. You know, you're trying to get there, man. Like I said, everybody's got a price. So, yeah, Anderson Silva, I didn't really expect him to put up much of a fight. I don't think he did. I'm going to go back and read up a little about it. I've been catching up with the Euro. Catching up on the home run derby tonight. Speaking of the Euro, I can't believe Portugal fucking won. Can't believe they pulled it off. I did hear, though, that updated live that Ronaldo did get substituted due to injury in the 26th. But I didn't know that he had left, and he came back and tried to give it another go. You can just see he didn't have any strength in his leg. He definitely knocked one of his ligaments in there, his ACL, something like that, whether it's a deep bruise to it, whether it's something more, we don't know yet. Did I think Portugal could pull that off without Ronaldo? No. Fuck no. Hell no. Did I think Ronaldo was going to have that big game? Not really, no. But at least he creates attention. You know, you got a game plan around him. You know, he helps create holes for the rest of his players when he's playing the best. When Ronaldo's at his best, not only does he get his chances, but the defenders and the midfielders are so worried about him, it creates holes for the rest of his teammates. Now, in the end, you know, it might have brought Portugal together a little bit more, seeing their talisman, seeing their captain go down. They knew that they had to play a little bit tighter football. They knew they couldn't just sit back and hopefully rely on a Ronaldo chance. I was listening to a couple of the pundits on ESPN FC, and they were talking about how Nani and Quaresma and I don't know who else would they have had there, but the front three forwards pushed a lot, almost like a 4-3-3. They pushed a lot on the French defense and the French holding midfielders, not allowing them a whole lot of time on the ball, which was a little bit different tactic than Portugal used to get there. So good on them. Good on their coach to realize that. Santos. There's a quality managing job by Santos. Very well done. Ronaldo. I was hearing about Suarez, that Cedric Suarez, the fullback. He was talking about Ronaldo pumping him up in the dressing room. And, you know Ronaldo wanted the cameras on him. In my opinion, Ronaldo wanted the cameras on him whether you won or not. Like I heard him talking about when Messi was crying after the Copa Americas, you know, and all the cameras that were on Messi after that. Some sympathy, some anger, some question marks because we don't know if Messi's coming back to play for the Argentinian national side. So Ronaldo's going to want the cameras on him regardless at this stage. There's no way he was going to stay in that back room the whole game. Now, good on him coming back, pumping his teammates up, you know. Thought he did a pretty good job. Now, I didn't get to see the live broadcast, so I don't know how often he was on camera. I'm sure it was quite a bit. But, hey, man, he got to hoist the cup in the end, man. No abs, no shirt pulling off, I don't think, for all you ladies out there. I don't think there was. I would have saw the photos all over the place and the memes and everything on social media. Didn't see much. Even though I've only been trying to catch up. I was tired yesterday, so didn't really accomplish a whole lot last night, except for unpacking. But it was a half-decent Euros. The football wasn't the best. I went into this thinking, I really like the traditional 16-team format. 16 of the best nations in Europe for the championships. You qualify to get there. You find out who the best is. 24, I was worried about it watering it down. We had a couple good games in the group stage round. But overall, not really. Seen some disastrous fucking football. Awful football. I know the players are tired too. A lot of people are saying Portugal wouldn't even have got there because of this scenario. And I can't quite remember where Portugal finished in qualifying. Whether that would have affected it because there was more teams. But if they were one of the top 16 teams, and if there was only 16, then the groups would all have been fucking reshuffled and all fucked up. So who's to say that Portugal couldn't have been a top 2 team out of another group if there was only 16 teams? You know what I mean? Then the draws would all be differently, and it would affect everything if you just eliminated 8 teams. Like I said, I don't know if Portugal would have been affected if you just eliminated 8 teams where they were in qualifying. I don't think they won their qualifying round. But anyways, they still... Well, they're the first team to only win 1 game in regulation. To win the Euros. It's pretty fucking wild. Pretty wild. Won twice in extra time. Handful of draws. 3 or 4 draws. Next thing you know, Lisbon's going nuts. And Paris, France, Les Bleus, Didier Deschamps' boys, you guys choked. You choked. Especially right after Ronaldo got hurt, because you could tell Portugal was stunned. They were going to be stunned regardless. Anyone that knows sports, they're human beings, they're not robots. They're going to be stunned for a little bit. And you guys didn't fucking put all hell and fury fucking at them. You didn't fucking push the ball and go for it. You kind of just waited for somebody else to fucking do something. Heard Antoine Griezmann had an awful match. Which doesn't quite shock me. He doesn't quite have the experience. He really isn't one of the... But he had a good tournament. He's an exciting player. Is he a true number 9 striker, sorry? True number 9, no. But he had a good tournament. He's an exciting player. Tough to rely on him. Tough to rely. Gignac hit the post. But as it got closer and closer to 90 minutes, it was slipping from France, in my opinion. That's getting into Portugal's territory. They were quite comfortable. They've been in that territory all tournament. France, was on a 12 or 14 game winning streak at home. And now they choked. They let it slip through their fingers. Heard Paul Pogba didn't really have a good match. Heard Didier Deschamps' tactics and the substitutions were kind of iffy. I'm not quite sure if Olivier Giroud found any time. Didn't really hear much about him. I highly doubt it. Was kind of shocked that Gignac's kind of their go-to guy after Griezmann. That's where Benzema from Madrid, that goes a long way. Not having one of the best number 9s in the world. And instead of drinking wine, drinking lots of Kronenbergs and stuff like that, Paris, they're drowning in their sorrows. They messed it up. They fucked it up. And obviously I'm furious with England. It was embarrassing with the English performance. But, that was right out of the England playbook, France. That was right out of the England playbook. Overlooked them after one of their star player goes down. Not quite play up to the moment. Trying to play, a little bit too protective, a little bit too defensive. Trying to play not to lose rather than play to win. But we'll see a little bit of a change in the guard in France. They had 2 old fullbacks in Sagna and Evra. So they got to be replaced. Still got a nice young core in midfield. Benzema is an interesting factor for the next World Cup. We'll see if he comes back into the lineup. I'm sure there'll be a new manager. I'm sure there'll be some shake-up in the French Football Association. Griezmann will still be fun to watch for Atletico. Plays a perfect role for Atletico. He'd be perfect to play off Diego Costa if Diego Costa made his way back to Atletico. But I wouldn't be shocked if a couple of big PSG and stuff like that come sniffing around Griezmann. We're gonna see some transfer action. Fucking move rather fucking quickly here. We're gonna see all the crazy rumors start to spark up again. United, we need to offload a handful of players. We have a very, very large roster right now. I know Mourinho doesn't like to use a very large roster. 25 players is perfectly fine for him, with maybe a handful of extra senior players that don't quite make that. We don't have a Champions League. Well, we have a Europa League roster to split it between. But we got a lot of youngsters that are kind of coming up. I'm curious to see how Mourinho's going to use our youngsters. Pereira, Rashburn. The defender there. The young Irish lad. McNair. Paddy McNair. Be interesting. I'm very interested to see how we use these guys. Kind of curious to see what this Eric Bailly guy's all about. Been watching some tape for Villarreal. He looked alright. Looks solid. Looks quick. Seems like he's got the reflexes and the fast mentality to be able to read the play. Gotta be able to read the play in the Prem and be able to act quick, man. Inches. So the Euro's over with. I say congratulations to Iceland. And congratulations to Wales. You made it fucking worth watching. It was an awesome, your games, your matches, your story, your road. That's the real story. Because, like I said, some of the matches were just awful. The actual level of football was low. England was embarrassing. Not a lot of people don't like the hooliganism and stuff like that, but yet someone working in the media and a news guy, it was entertaining nonetheless. Don't understand half of it, but interesting. I thought Paris did a rather good job. Didn't really hear a whole lot of things coming out of Paris. Rather safe. I always said if they were going to do anything, ISIS, it'd be in the next week or so, right after the games, when security isn't as high. People start to let their guard down a little bit. So we'll see. But I thought, I think they did a rather good job. The scenery was beautiful. But the pitches were fucking awful, too. Pitches were awful. Maybe that helped with the low level of football, too. The pitches looked terrible. Players and managers said they were terrible. But I look forward to the World Cup. Qualifying begins. Sorry about that. As you see, I haven't recorded a video a couple days. Every time I try to get back into action, something always comes up. Switches up my schedule, switches up things. But I look for the next World Cup. Qualifying begins in September, England. I best hope that you guys are ready. In the back room, in the technical area, and on the pitch. We're going through a change of guard. Wayne Rooney, it's going to be an interesting situation with him. Should he still be our captain? Should he still be wearing the armband? That's highly questionable, arguable. Does he deserve a role? Still deserves a role in the national team, I do believe. He's never been the best coming off the bench, though, Wayne Rooney. So it's going to be a whole new life that he's going to have to learn from. Because I don't think I see Wayne Rooney leading the line for England too often. He's definitely going to... And his transition into midfield, he's still got a lot to learn. He panics. Sometimes. When things aren't quite going his way. When the players aren't flowing and they're rotating. He panics to create some things. Tries some passes that are a little too hard. Unnecessary passes. And then, his safety valve is always to pass it backwards. And that's, passing it backwards really not on him. He needs some of his players to move. But I noticed that when Wayne goes back into midfield and things aren't quite going his way, first 60 minutes, first 55 minutes of a match, he starts to panic and starts to force little passes. Tries to force passes out wide, starts to hit them a little longer. He's not quite used to staying patient in that midfield and letting his players work off him. Give him lane, give him places to put the ball. That's what he's got to depend on. And he needs to help manage that out there. So it's going to be an interesting role to see what he plays with 3 Lions. But we're going to keep moving on. The Golden State Warriors. They're back in the news. No, they're not signing anybody else. They're not trading anybody else. They're not releasing anybody else. They're not draining 3-pointers on anybody else. But Draymond Green is facing assault charges in Michigan. Guess he was arrested on Sunday in East Lansing, where he grew up, where he played his college basketball. It happened in an East Lansing restaurant. The victim was a man. Supposedly, police told ESPN it was basically an altercation between 2 guys, police said. There's no injuries. He was released with a $200 bond. Green is scheduled for arraignment on July 20th. If convicted, he could face a maximum of 93 days in jail, $500 fine, which he's not going to jail. He will pay a little bit of fine. He'll probably pay the guy off a little bit, have this go away as quickly as possible, is exactly what the Golden State Warriors are telling him. This is not what the Golden State Warriors need. So it says Green is set to join Team USA in August for the Olympics in Rio de Janeiro. That might be on the chopping block right now. You can put that one on the stove and cook that up because I don't know what's going to happen. We'll see the outcome. This might affect that. Just with the charges alone, they might just remove him from the team, the distraction, etc., etc. Which for Draymond Green, he's a big star. He is a big star. But the Olympics is a good exposure for him for other endeavors, outside projects. Very good exposure. The USA basketball team's going to win. I'd put my money on it right now. But not the worst thing in the world if he doesn't go. Not the worst thing in the world for the Golden State Warriors if he doesn't go either. They've played a lot of basketball the last 2 years. So if fresh, rested up Draymond Green is better for the Warriors than a Draymond Green that goes and wins a gold medal for Team USA. That's if they let him go now. That's if the border lets him go, and that's if the Team USA lets him go. So very interesting situation. Doesn't shock me at all. It's just the type of character Draymond Green is. I don't think he's like a thug or an idiot or anything like that. But it's just the lifestyle he lives. He lives a little, off the beaten path, kind of like me and stuff like that. He wants to go out, stuff like that. People recognize him now too. Shit happens. He obviously from his antics on the court, you see that he's a gamer. He's not going to back down, it seems like. So he'll probably run his mouth. He'll stand his ground, stand up for himself. So that's obviously what happened. So there was some words exchanged, probably some pushing and shoving, something like that. Probably had something to do with maybe one of Draymond Green's entourage. Could have been a girl. Who the fuck knows? Other Olympic news, interesting things. Rio's police crisis looms over 2016 Olympics. Welcome to hell. That's how one contingent of Brazil's striking civil police force greeted arrivals at Rio's International Airport just weeks before the 2016 Summer Olympic Games are set to begin. So the civil police officers, there's about 60,000 of them? They're on strike. 85,000 underfunded civil and military police officers are expected to be dispatched in Rio to secure Olympic venues and protect tourists. But they're protesting right now for unpaid checks. Now, there's also a problem. Not only are they underpaid and they're clashing with their government, but there's a lot of problems with the officers. I'll get the board here for you. The Amnesty International is also worried about them. They're excessively violent. If they have fear of no consequences. So you got them demanding to be paid more. They're excessively violent a little bit in fear of, they don't really have a fear of consequence going down. Now, Rio's gripped in one of its worst economic recessions in years. Homicide rate in Rio's up 15% through the first 4 months of this year. Street robberies up 24% in those same months. First 4 months of 2016. That's from Washington Post statistics. Police officers have killed more than 2,500 people in Rio since 2009. Brazil are on the right, the host. Killings during the police operations in Rio rose 40% in 2014. The same year that Brazil hosted the FIFA World Cup. Toll rose another 11%, 645 deaths in 2015. According to Amnesty International. On-duty police officers are allegedly involved in one out of every 5 homicides in Rio. That's fucking crazy. Yeah, if you have never seen the movie City of God, go check out the movie City of God. That'll show you what some of the slums in Rio are all about. It's a fucking good movie. So some very interesting news in Rio. Problems with the water where they're going to be sailing, with pollution. Got problems with the cops. I'd always want to go to an Olympic Games, and partying on the beaches of Rio de Janeiro would be pretty damn cool. But I don't think I'd really want to put up with that shit. Where are we standing on here for time? Alright. Try to wrap this up as quickly as possible. UFC sold for $4 billion today to WME IMG. It's a group of investors led by Hollywood. So they've been sold for approximately $4 billion to a group of investors led by Hollywood talent agency WME IMG. I think there's a, let's see who else is involved in this. Just want to get it all right. Now, the former owners, Frank and Lorenzo Fertitta, they bought it for $2 million. Now they've sold it for $4 billion. Now they've sunk a lot of money into it as well. So it's not like they're making a profit on $2 million. Like they've sunk a few $100 million into the project. They probably owe some people, some debts. It's really not a whole lot of information that they're giving me here right now. It's a pretty sad article. What's this article? This is a Fox Business. Associated Press. Pretty sad fucking article. Where's the one I'm looking for? There we go. These guys will be a little bit more in depth. Jordan Spieth not going to the Olympics. Doesn't shock me. Told you so. You're going to see a couple more golfers pull out. Wouldn't be shocked to see a couple basketball players pull out. I think most of the basketball players have pulled out that wanted to pull out. You might see a couple linger here and there. But you'll see a couple more golfers for sure. So the talent agency WME IMG is partnering with its owner Silver Lake Partners, Kohlberg, Kravis Roberts, and MSD Capital, the investment firm of Michael Dell. Very interesting. Very interesting. Dana White is still staying on. He kept his, I think he's got 10% minority ownership of the UFC still. He's going to stay on as president. Lorenzo Fertitta told CNN that the organization took in about $600 million in 2015. Like all this money fucking talk getting tossed around the UFC now. And how much money they're actually fucking making is only gonna fucking piss these fighters off more, man. It's only gonna push more for a fighters union, even though half the fighters hate each other and they want to fight each other and beat the shit out of each other. But like they're starting to see all this money getting tossed around. And if they're smart, they could be looking at some of these basketball players, some of these baseball players, and seeing how much money they're making. The players' union, certain agents. Like there's a lot of money getting tossed around the UFC these days, and the players are gonna, and the fighters are gonna want a big piece of that. They're gonna want a chunk. They've put a lot of blood and sweat on the line over the years to help build this organization. So White owns 9%. The Abu Dhabi government still owns 10%. Because they had that, $700 million TV deal with Fox. Plus the Reebok deal. A whole bunch of other deals. They're doing quite fine for themselves. The Fox deal expires at the end of 2018. He said a new deal with Fox may be expected to be worth $200 million a year if UFC continues this upward trajectory. Pretty interesting. I'm on ESPN right now. So UFC continues to be in the news. They'll be in the news for the next couple of days. They'll soak all this in. I'm sure there'll be a couple big announcements. It'll be interesting where they might hold some fights. I wouldn't be shocked if they come back to Toronto. I know they weren't very happy last time they were in Toronto, but why not come back to Toronto? Try to ignite that scene up to the main levels like you see down in Las Vegas. So that's very interesting. Very interesting stuff going down with the UFC. I'm going to sit down and break down a little bit more numbers, see what these numbers all mean, let these experts break down the numbers, basically, and I'll go break them down myself, because I ain't no mathematician. But the Home Run Derby takes place tonight in San Diego. The All-Star Game, the MLB All-Star Game's in San Diego this year. The Home Run Derby kicks it off tonight. There's not a whole lot of things to handicap tonight. That's why we're going to focus on the Home Run Derby. You know, they got them going in brackets now, right? So we got a couple things that we can do with this. We'll obviously look for an outright winner. Maybe we'll parlay a couple brackets up. I think I kind of got a couple guys circled. Haven't officially clicked on anybody. Maybe I'll click on a couple guys during this, but I'm just going to break down, give you my thoughts on the Home Run Derby going down tonight. Giancarlo Stanton, plus 333, is your favorite. Mark Trumbo, plus 400. Todd Fraser, plus 500. Adam Duvall, plus 550. Will Myers, plus 550. Carlos Gonzalez, plus 750. Robinson Cano, plus 800. And the LA Dodgers, rookie shortstop Corey Seager, plus 1,000, rounds up the field. Now, I really hope Stanton has a nice performance. I really hope he shows up, because that guy can just fucking hit moonshots. The guy is a physical freak. He really is. Whenever I see him in that box, I'm just like, how big is this guy? He just looks like a fucking giant. He should be on that new Giant movie or whatever, The Big Friendly Giant. It's basically what Stanton is. He's the big mean giant to pitchers, though. But, I like him. Not my top choice. Don't think I'm going to go with him. I'm searching for a little bit more value than plus 333. Mark Trumbo, plus 400. I have Mark Trumbo on my fantasy team, but I'm not taking him. Baltimore Oriole batters haven't fared too well. Manny Machado, Davis. Remember, a lot of people were on, I think, Davis last year. And Todd Frazier won it last year in Cincinnati when he was part of the Cincinnati Reds. Now, he's the third overall favorite at plus 500. I like him. I think he's going to show up. Do I think it's going to be tough to win? Tough to go back-to-back. I don't know how many bad people have went back-to-back for the home run derby. But he just seems to have that knack. This is his third time out. So he's got the experience of 2 other times. Did fairly well in those 2 other times as well. Like I said, he won. So at Todd Frazier's, I'm going to click right on Todd Frazier at plus 500. Adam Duvall, a current Cincinnati Red. He's at plus 550. He's kind of a dark horse, kind of an interesting cat. He's got 23 home runs, 27-year-old rookie, kind of coming out of nowhere. He's either going to have a strong performance or he's going to fizzle out right away. Now, he's going up against Will Myers in the first round, which is a big break for him. A big break. I think if he was facing somebody like Stanton or Frazier or Robinson Cano, I think, playing against a pretty good baseball player might get to him a little bit in that moment. But Will Myers is Will Myers, but he is a hometown kid, so all the pressure will be on Will Myers in that matchup, which I'm foreshadowing a little bit. So Will Myers, he's at plus 550. So Gonzalez at plus 750. I'm not quite sure about him. I don't really want to take him. I just don't like him too much. But Robinson Cano at plus 800, I'm going to click on. Won in 2011. He's having a really solid year. I think he's going to continue it. I think he's going to be in the MVP conversation, even though Seattle Mariners are the Seattle Mariners. And I really don't think the kid Corey Seager is going to do a whole lot. I don't like taking shortstops in these competition. Well, in this competition. So we'll take Frazier. Take Robinson Cano to win outright. Now, we got some options. If we're going to do that, we might as well take Todd Frazier. Minus 145 to beat Carlos Gonzalez. And we're going to take... Now, this is the scary part about it, though. But hey, man, it's gambling. It's gambling. We're going to take Robinson Cano at plus 130 to beat Giancarlo Stanton in the first round. See, this is what I mean. Stanton, he didn't have a really good performance in 2014. Hit 6 home runs. First round. Kind of got him to semifinals. Didn't hit any in the semifinals. I just think Robinson Cano's swing, his mentality, he's got the experience. Won in 2000, so we're going to click on both of these guys. Now, another matchup that I think that we can go with is I was foreshadowing it a little bit. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Will Myers. So, because I can go with Mark Trumbo. So probably what I'm going to do here is I'm going to parlay Mark Trumbo and Todd Frazier together I think Trumbo's going to get it round in the first round. I don't think Seager's going to show up against him. We parlay Fraser and Trumbo to win the first round matchups, plus 153. Then I'm just going to take Robinson Cano by himself at plus 135. Take out Giancarlo Stanton. So I got Frazier and Robinson Cano to win outright. I got Robinson Cano to beat Stanton in the first round. And I got Todd Frazier and Mark Trumbo parlayed together to win their respective first round matchups. I'm going to start getting this out on a little bit more consistent basis. Starting to see some NFL talk. But I'm going to talk a little fantasy baseball out next time. Do a little grading. Talk about my fantasy baseball league. Talk a little CFL fantasy. Starting to get into it. Starting to figure it out. Haven't watched this much CFL football in a couple years. I just have to admit, I'm not the biggest fan of CFL football. Just not the biggest fan of 3-down football. It's just it's what it is. It is what it is. But I've gotten into it. I'm in a pretty competitive CFL league. So I got a lot to learn. So I'm going to talk a little fantasy sports next time out. There's been a lot of news. Sad news going down in the States in Dallas, Louisiana, Minnesota. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that and the police officers and everything that went down. Send my condolences out to all the police officers that were killed. Send my condolences to the gentleman in Louisiana. I don't want to say his name wrong right now, so I'll say that. Then you guys know who I'm talking about. Same with the gentleman in Minnesota. You know, life's precious, man. Life's precious. And that stuff in Dallas was pretty crazy. I'm going to talk a little bit about Mossport Park tomorrow. I got some videos I'm going to put out. I'm just doing some editing. Got them all basically done raw. Just going to touch them up. Do a little, see what I like. Throw a little bit of music in the background. We got a couple thoughts for you coming out about Mossport Park. Sports 1 mobile series. It's a pretty good time down there. Had a great time in Mossport. What can I say? Great time. Glad you can be here to join me today. Remember, you can find my work on Twitter at KJ_theblock. Find my work on my blog site, KyleJohnstonTheBlock.wordpress.com. And remember, 666 is the number of the beast.